Hey guys, and welcome back to Freckle Finance. Today is the part 2 video of my UK vacation where I'm in Scotland. If you have not subscribed to me already, make sure you click that subscribe button below, especially if you're a new viewer. I do upload videos regularly. And let's get on to the the Scotland portion. However, in this first picture, I am still in London. This is King's Cross, and this is just on our way to Scotland. We literally had enough time just to arrive to the train station and do platform 9 3/4. As I said in the last video, I am a Harry Potter fan, and if anyone is interested, since I am a redhead, I took Ginny's wand for this. But it was really cool. There's actually a lady who throws up your scarf so that you have that nice windy look going. And this is just pictures we took along the train line to Scotland, so it will show you some pictures along the way. You can see how gorgeous some of the areas are, or how massive some of the buildings are. And just really green grass, and it's very beautiful. So we basically only went to Edinburgh and the Highlands. So this is when we arrived to Edinburgh, and this is Edinburgh Castle. You'll see along the side they've got some chairs, or I forget what they're called, but they're setting up platforms and chairs, and they're actually going to have a big, I think, Highland festival or some kind of military, some kind of fancy fun thing that was not available when we were there to go see, but it would have been really cool. So you can see how very old this castle looks. However, we decided not to go to this castle on the first day because there was only 2 hours left, and even though this castle, in my opinion, kind of looked a bit small, turns out that it does take more than 2 hours, and it was a great decision for us to come back later. So there's just another picture. So it was actually my husband's birthday that day. So, and he loves Scotch. We were trying to think of something else to do. We're in Scotland, and within maybe a minute of leaving the castle, there is a place for a Scotch tour. Now, it's not quite like going on a wine tour. We didn't go to the place where the Scotch is actually made. However, there was a lot of information. So here's just some of the pictures from that. This room is part of a collection of around, I think, 35,000 bottles that this one obviously very wealthy person owns. And so you can see there's just bottles and bottles and bottles. If anyone loves Scotch, some of the bottles actually, every year about 2% of the Scotch leaves the bottle. It's called Angel's Share, and so some of the bottles are very old and they have a significant portion of the Scotch is gone, which almost makes you think you should probably be drinking the Scotch fast so you don't waste your money, because that's not cheap stuff. You'll see here in this picture the different amounts of Scotch that are left in the bottles. There's my husband. There's this whole way to taste test the Scotch, and sniffing is part of it. It's actually pretty similar to how you're supposed to taste wine. And so as part of his birthday present, he got a round of Scotch at the end of it, and apparently you're supposed to add water into Scotch, but he doesn't particularly like doing that. He just prefers to drink his Scotch the way it comes out of the bottle. And these are for 4 different regions of Scotland, so there's Highland, Lowlands. I honestly don't remember all of them. His favorite kind is Islay. If anyone is interested, it's the most smoky kind, and I hate all Scotch, but I hate that one the worst. So here's a picture of me drinking that Scotch. You can see I didn't really like it that much. So here's just some typical Edinburgh streets. Very old city. So this city is actually a lot older than, or at least the buildings are a lot older than in London, because in London there was a big fire that wiped out most of a lot of the buildings, and this one did not have, well, they did have fires, but some of it's from a very long time ago. And this was something when I was researching Edinburgh that I didn't know existed in Edinburgh. However, I didn't actually know much about Edinburgh in the first place, but you can see there's kind of a mountain in the background, and that's called Arthur's Seat, and it is an extinct volcano. Not that when you get up there it seems volcano-like or anything at all, it just seems like a regular mountain. So we also walked into this cathedral, I think it would be called. I'm sorry, I'm not top-notch on all my Catholic church names. We were not able to take pictures on the inside, so there is no pictures of the inside of it, and we decided, this is still our first day, and we're like, hey, let's go for a walk up Arthur's Seat, because, it's just a small little hill that's about, I think, 800 feet high. So you can see lots of people, and it's pretty intense looking, and there's some pictures of the scenery on the way there. This is also another portion. It's just like a flattened kind of hill. It's pretty cool looking as well. So we're just climbing, taking pictures of us along the way. See, in my purse I got some water bottles. We had to actually go back and get water bottles because we were like, there's no way we're climbing that hill without water. And then I went all the way up to the top portion of my husband and took a picture of me coming back down. I almost fell. I don't think that was actually the official trail up. I couldn't find it. So I went up that way, I came back down that way. And here's me being friendly and talking to people, and I'm probably telling them what's up that hill, so. Oh, and if you go back to this picture, it's clearly very, very windy. So a really great picture just that shows the beauty of this city. And there's this black, it's not really a building, it's a monument, I believe. And it's very black, and it's from all the fire. Everyone used to have a fireplace, and the smoke and the ash and so it would all come out, and so that's just, it hasn't been cleaned or anything like that, I assume. But I also thought that was really crazy. It's so old that some of the stuff is black. You can see the bleachers, now that I remember the word for it, just behind it, which is right in front of the Edinburgh Castle as well. So the city is actually fairly large, but most of the stuff that you do in the city is pretty much along that same street. So there's some more gorgeous pictures. I'm not sure where we are here, but there's a picture. So this is actually the next day, and we went on a Highland tour. It was 12 hours long, and this just shows you, and I guess I thought they called it Highland because it was maybe back in the time they thought it's actually more west, there's more east, I believe, but I thought maybe they consider it higher up in Scotland, but I think they call it the Highlands because there are lots of mountainous hills. I think this might be actually on Loch Ness. You can go on a Loch Ness tour. Obviously nobody actually expects to see the Loch Ness Monster because it doesn't really exist, but they do kind of tell you some interesting theories on why people would believe in the Loch Ness Monster, or like how they thought that there was this monster in the water, just apparently the way some of the waves come in, and there were some other theories. And this is a goat. He's literally in the middle of this mountain and he's just trying to eat some grass, and we took a picture of it. This was really, really far away and we could barely with our naked eye see this goat, but that was pretty cool. And it was very, very windy again. Just some more Loch Ness. I don't think this was still, it looks like it's the same place. Sorry, this is not Loch Ness. I don't have all the lochs names, and for anyone who's not familiar, a loch is just a lake. They also have locks there, like for boats and transferring the water to change the water level for boats to go through, and they're called locks, so they have that word there as well. But this is just us. Just more crazy mountain areas. Actually, if you look, you know, there's some snow on it. It's pretty crazy, and it's so, so beautiful. As I warned in the last video, I didn't have proper hair products, and I didn't even have a hair tie. My hair tie broke, and I just didn't really have the time to even think about getting a hair tie. This is, I believe we're now inside Edinburgh Castle. This must be the third day because the 12-hour tour takes the whole day, and just there's lots of little individual kind of museums, and there is still active military within that castle, so there were some areas that we couldn't go into as well. There's me pretending to be a guard. I'm so scary and fierce looking, you know. And what I thought was cool is I guess I never knew what a castle really meant, which is basically a city inside a fortified wall. So I was just expecting this kind of be to one building, but it's a ton of buildings, and this is the oldest chapel, I believe, at least in Edinburgh. And one of the royal families made it after their wife died, I believe. And it's very small, but it's, you know, it's right inside of Edinburgh Castle, along with, you know, eating areas, sleeping areas, lots of areas for the workers to be. And then we left that, we walked all the way down the hill to, this is Holyrood Palace, and this is Queen Elizabeth's official residence within Scotland. And this area also as well, I believe we don't actually get to go into her sleeping quarters. We did get to go into some of her quarters that were there, and this is actually shut down whenever the Queen is there, and she was coming, I think, 2 days later, so we didn't have to worry about not being able to go in. And yeah, this is the outside of it, so you know, this is actually her house, so that was kind of cool. This is and I'm assuming since there's no pictures on the inside, it must have been one of the buildings we could not take pictures in. So that's really sad. It was really gorgeous on the inside, as well as I believe Queen Mary of Scots also lived here. If you watched the first video, I said that pretty much every palace we went into, Queen Mary of Scots lived in. This is actually an old church, or I believe they call it an abbey. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it is on the Holyrood Palace's, it might be actually called Holyrood Abbey, I'm not sure, but it obviously doesn't have a roof anymore and is not really an active abbey, but you can just see how grand it is and its former beauty that it would have had. And this is just a burger that we got when we were there. I guess it's a sandwich. It's the only food picture I found in the list of pictures. It is a pork sandwich with haggis on it. So this was just, we were hungry, we didn't want to think too much about like finding food, so we got this. It was actually a really, really delicious burger, and if you watch my video on the food on this trip, you'll know that I said haggis actually is not disgusting, and I really, really expected it to be, but it kind of just tastes like stuffing. I mean, it's got tons of oats in it, you know, it's just like Scotland to have oats in a lot of their food. And here we're at some kind of park, which I can't remember the name of, and they had this structure, and I'll go back to it. It kind of reminded me of like Stonehenge sort of thing, although it was not nearly as impressive and was clearly like man-made, but kind of difficult to get on top of. And we just sat around here for a bit, just relaxing, because you know, it's very tiring walking around everywhere. We walked pretty much everywhere that we could, and that takes a lot out of you. So this is actually our last day in Scotland. We took a very expensive Uber because we didn't realize we'd get stuck in traffic, and there's no Uber pool if you're familiar with Uber. And this was called Craigmillar Castle, I believe. If not, I will put somewhere what this castle was called. And it's an old castle, which I think Queen Mary of Scots fled to. I don't think she ever officially lived here, but she was here at some point, and there's no guided tours through this place. It's just strictly, you just roam around yourself. And this was probably my favorite castle just because it was so old, and you know, nothing was really blocked off to us except, you know, if there wasn't a floor to get onto it type of thing. So it was really cool. You can see how huge it is, and you can just see behind the castle portion there is the church area there. I think it might be a graveyard now or something. I can't quite remember. We weren't able to go in. So they have nice little short doors that you gotta walk through, and I'm up on a window. It's hard to show kind of in individual spaces. A lot of them are really dark and it was hard to get photos of, but you can just see it's very, very old. It's clearly not a modern castle by any means. You can see on this you can just see a tag on the right hand side. It says that this is the cellar, and I had to duck down because it was so low. This was not a cage or anything like that. This is me on the second floor. It could possibly be the third floor because some areas had third floor, but there is no second floor. The floor has collapsed, and so with the ceiling, but I believe this would have been a bedroom and a bedroom underneath it as well. This, I believe, was the kitchen. However, there were some bedrooms with fireplaces this large as well, and I just stuck my hands out so that when we took the photo you could be able to see how large the space was. This is a tree just out front, and we had time to spare, and we, you know, spent quite an expensive Uber ride to get there, so we thought we'd hang out, and I was just goofing off on that tree a bit. So you can just see this is considered inside of Edinburgh, but I imagine that most people don't actually come out this far. It's not in, it would be, I think, like a 2-hour walk. Transit was only like 30 minutes, but you have to know how to get there on the transit. So we're on the upper portion of the more, I don't know if it was an older part, but this part was more collapsed. As this square building or rectangle building in the middle, you can see it does still have intact a lot of floors, and we do go exploring through there. Lots of lovely staircases that are so easy to walk up. I believe the portion that you see behind me was originally the basement, and at some points had a floor there, and other points they took it out. One thing we did learn about castles is that whenever anyone overtook a castle, they would burn the castle and kind of rebuild it so that their enemies would not have the advantage of knowing the layouts of the castle. So in every single castle there's a lot of remodeling, and the original stuff is not there, and you can kind of see a fireplace there as well. Might have turned into a kitchen. There was many places that had many different functions over the years. There's my husband's taking a picture on the second floor at me through the window. I took one of him, but I didn't post it here. You can just see. And that's pretty much the end of the trip, and we were just walking around trying to come up with stuff to do in the last evening, because as I said, everything kind of shuts down in the city I'm assuming most of the UK at about 6 o'clock. And we came across this band, and I wouldn't call this modern. I don't think this is typical music in the area, but it's pretty cool because it's bagpipes with some other stuff. So I'm just going to play this video, part of this video for you guys. I actually really like these guys. I thought I had remembered the name of them, and I was going to find them on YouTube. They said they did, or at least they had a Facebook page. If anyone happens to know who they are, let me know. They had some other varieties of songs. They didn't just play that style of music, but they were really, really cool. And I wish I remembered the names so that I could tell you guys, but unfortunately, I don't know. And that pretty much concludes our trip to the UK. I believe that we did leave the next morning fairly early. I didn't show you pictures of the Airbnbs, however, this one was really nice in Scotland. However, the one we went to in London was, there was nothing to show. It was just a good deal, and actually it was the bathroom was kind of gross. But yeah, if anyone is interested, I never posted anything on my honeymoon. I kept putting it off, and then I just never did it. And now that I know how to do this is actually quite easy. So it's not a big deal. If you guys are interested, I can show you all of my trip to the Eastern Provinces, which was Nova Scotia, PEI, and New Brunswick. Sorry, I shouldn't say all the Eastern Provinces because I'm missing Newfoundland. But yeah, let me know and I will do a video on that as well. I mean, it's been probably 9 months since we went on our honeymoon, but it was lots of fun. And if you enjoyed pictures from Scotland, PEI is just as beautiful as Scotland.